Great. So just quickly want to say hi, everyone, and welcome to ASIS's first event of the semester. A little bit late, but um, sooner. And tonight, the SLIS community will hear from faculty about their experiences at the ASIS 2024 annual meeting that was held this October in Calgary, Canada. And we'll also have time for a small Q&A at the end of our speakers' presentations.
Yeah, and we could start with Sanda.
I'll be the first one. Well, actually, this year around, surprisingly, I did not have any formal presentation at ASIS&T, but ASIS&T is my, how to call it, a home base in terms of conferences. I joined it in quite a long time ago, in 1987, when I was the first year doctoral student at Syracuse University, and it was quite an interesting experience. The conference that year was in Boston in 1987, so a group of my PhD colleagues and I sat in a car and we drove to the conference just to have this kind of freak winter storm, first of the season. So we were basically stopped in the middle of the highway and all covered with snow. And it was quite a story to tell. I still remember it. And ever since, I would go to ASIS&T and present papers, go and I would be at the various panels, have posters, and this time around, just to let you know, I actually was invited to participate in 3 panels, and this was quite a surprising this year because it's a highly selective process. None of those panels got selected. I was pretty much shocked, because there were some very distinguished speakers, but this just tells you that it's selective. It doesn't really matter who the names of the people are, whether they are deans or former presidents of ASIS&T or other organizations. So it's all what reviewers like. So this time around, I mainly attended ASIS to represent SLIS. As a dean, I'm a member of iSchools organization, and I'm also its former chair. So we had a very important meeting of all the deans there. And otherwise, these opportunities are always, these conferences are always an opportunity to connect with old students, old friends. So I would definitely advise everybody to have at least one home organization where you can go regularly, because these are experiences that count. And there are sometimes generations of academics, almost like grandparents having parents and then having children, meaning all like doctoral students. So it's quite an event. Otherwise, in itself, conference was really nicely organized. I like personally when all the events are easily accessible, so you can quickly get in and out of various conference rooms. And the organizers were especially keen this time around to provide abundance of food, which always helps. So these are some of the elements that really make these research and professional conferences very helpful. I picked and chose various events that I attended, primarily a couple of panels. I did not, I'll have to admit, attend any paper presentations because given the limited amount of time, my thought was that I could always read the papers afterwards. but panels are usually where the latest ideas are shared. So I was really glad to attend some panels on AI and on virtual reality and research, including some of our former faculty members who were presenting their research. So it was really very informative, and I'm glad that we're having this review session, because it would be interesting for me to hear what other members who were there experienced. So back to you, Naresh.
Okay, thank you, Sanda. And Hannah and I had a poster, and Hannah has recently graduated from Simmons University School of Library and Information Science. So, Hannah, could you talk about your experience as a first-time attendee, as well as presenting the poster at the conference?
Yeah, absolutely. It was my first conference that I'd gone to, and so that was very exciting to get to attend it all. And then on top of that, to be able to present a poster. And so my poster was on Dr. Brenda Dervin's sense-making research and how it's been applied over the years. And so I got to present it on the Sunday evening of the conference. And I'll just start with, I'm not sure if any of you all have been to conferences yet, but it's like a giant poster, stand next to it and talk to it, kind of like a science fair project when you're younger. Just to clarify, if it's not something you've seen done before. And so that was what I did. And I got to go to the rest of the conference. I actually signed up for a couple of workshops as well, and those were really helpful, especially the first one that I went to was being led by some ladies out of the University of Notre Dame, and got to connect with them. And it was very nice for networking and getting to meet people, and like what Sanda said about getting to hear the latest ideas. The part about AI was very, very interesting. And I went to one of the sessions, one of the panel sessions was on crisis communication. And that was very interesting, because it kind of had some connections to what I had done during my independent study that my poster was based off of. So that was particularly interesting. Then I also got to go to the panel on Dr. Buckland's research, and that was also very interesting, because in my theories of information science class, that was who I had gone and interviewed with my group. So getting to hear him speak was amazing. Does that adequately cover things?
Okay. Thank you, Hannah. So I had told Fiona and Tristan that I would go last so that I can speak more or less depending on how much time there is. So I will just give a brief overview of ASIS&T organization as such. And I joined ASIS&T in 2008 as a student member. And at that point in time, I think I had a paper accepted at the conference. And also I was looking for faculty positions as a PhD student. And people said that ASIS&T would be a good place to apply for jobs. And this time, Sanda made me in charge of a search committee where we are hiring 2 to 3 faculty positions. And so I got to do the full circle from coming from being a PhD student looking for jobs to talking to other PhD students looking for jobs right now. And I've done that before as well, being a member of the search committee, but it was always nice to see that complete. So I think I was only there for 2 days this time at the conference, and it was really nice that we had a lot of interest from people who wanted to speak during the conference. And so I think in 2 days, I managed to do like 13 interviews along with all the other things. So it was quite an intense time. And most of that was required. What that entailed was firstly figuring out who to invite to talk. And that was, we had a search committee, and we worked on that in terms of people. But I also got requests on the fly, people writing on the app. There was a conference app, or people sending emails wanting to meet. And then it was about figuring out where to meet. So the conference organizers gave Simmons SLIS 3 hours of free interview space. So 3 hours, and each interview was 30 minutes each. So we could have 6 interviews in that space. The rest of it was about deciding where to meet. So I told people that we will meet right outside that room, because it became a good spot. And then we'll figure out a place to go sit somewhere. And so I think it was finding spaces to talk to people and then also giving them times to pick. So that was what was going on a lot of the times. And I want to share my screen and show you some things. So if you go to assist.org, this is the website of the parent organization, ASIST, and ASIST has a few things. It talks about why join ASIST and then categories of membership and so on. But there are two or three different things there is ASIST. So the highest body that ASIST has is the board of directors, and these are the people who run ASIST as a board. And there's the president, there is a president-elect, and there's an immediate past president, and they have treasurer, directors, a few directors at large, and then there's the executive director. And then apart from that, there is the ASIST staff. These are a group of people that help run ASIST. They take care of things like take care of various meetings and events, membership, and Garrett would work with various publications of ASIST, and Lydia manages things overall. And ASIST has just decided to now be a part of an association management company. So it's a company that manages various associations, and then ASIS would be a part of that, but that will allow ASIS to grow in directions to scale much more than what it has been able to do so far. And so that's about the board of directors and the staff. Apart from that, the ASIS also has committees and task forces. So there are various committees that the board gives the charge to every year. Like there's a committee that manages all the various awards that ASIS gives out, and each committee again has chairs, vice chairs, and so on. And then a budget and finance committee, education committee, governance committee, membership committee, and so on. Nominations committee, which looks for the people who get nominated to various positions every year. And apart from this, then there are special interest groups, and these have various areas like artificial intelligence, arts and humanities, classification, history, almost anything that you want to research is out there. And if it's not there, you could always propose to start a new SIG or a new special interest group. And that's about for what the areas of research that cater to that ASIS caters to. And then there are chapters. So the chapters are there for various regions of the world. Canada is just a new chapter that just got started at this annual meeting. So that was very exciting. And so South Asia chapter, Europe chapter, Africa, Middle East. So you have a lot of US chapters, Midwest, Northeast, South. So Simmons student chapter is closely associated with the US Northeast chapter. Again, apart from these regional chapters, then there are the student chapters. And that's where Simmons student chapter resides. So I wanted to give you a sense of where you belong within the overall structure of the organization. And sometimes as Simmons students, you may choose to be a member of just the Simmons student chapter, but joining the parent organization is helpful because then you can start to be a part of the other bodies and the sort of networks that you form in the process. And I don't even like to use the word network. I think I would like to use the term friendships. So those friendships that you form as part of working in these various capacities as a member of a SIG or a member of a chapter or a member of these committees, people get to see you, how responsible you are in the way you work. And later on, when it comes to inviting you for various talks and things like that, or when you need letters of recommendations for promotion and tenure, or even for a green card, in my case, when I was applying for a US permanent residency, things like that, you have a pool of people in very high profile positions across the US and in other parts of the world that are friends, like those who know you personally by your first name and all that. And that's a very powerful network of both good and smart people to be a part of. And that's what ASIST provides you. And as a student, you get a much more affordable rate to join that. And also, once you go from student to a working member, you get a transitional rate for 1 or 2 years. And then finally, you pay the full member rate. And now they've come up with a very interesting scheme called life membership, where if you pay for 30 years to be a member of ASIST, 30 years as membership fee, then you automatically become a life member. And if you have not completed 30 years, then you could add up all the money that you've paid for the number of years, let's say 15 years, 17 years, and then you could pay the remaining balance and it could still become a life member. And then you get a much more reduced rate to join the annual meeting and so on. And so that was
I'm glad, Naresh, that this was that you reminded me about this, because I'm actually very close to be, for 30 years. Or am I already more than 30 years?
I
think I might be more than 30 years.
I counted it was 34 something, I think. So you would probably qualify to right away.
I'm going to. One thing, I'm sorry, one thing I forgot to say, and you were modest and didn't mention, is that this year Naresh was celebrated as awardee of the award that is given for service to ASIS. So that's a quite high level of recognition, one of the top awards. There is also the life achievement and contribution to library information science research. So this is the highest level of the awards that Naresh received. So it was really nice to see SLIS faculty recognized at that level.
Thank you, Sanda. And so apart from this, so these are this is where the student chapter fits within the larger framework. And then I want to talk about the conference hotel. So this is the Hyatt Regency where the conference was held. So typically this is a sort of the venue which is there for ASIS. Some conferences are held in universities. ASIS likes to hold it in a hotel, and it's typically in the downtown of the place where it's being held. And about every 2 years or so, ASIS is held in North America. And every third year, it goes to a country outside of North America, especially since the last 10, 15 years since ASIS has been trying to go more international, and it's changed its name from American Society to Association for Information Science and Technology, which is more international. And now I think, so next year, I believe it will be back to Washington, D.C. Sanda, I think, right? The ASIS 2025. And then, so when Sanda and I, we were the conference co-chairs in 2017. When it was again held in Washington, D.C. that year, at Crystal City, Virginia, and there. So one of the things I think when it comes to organizing the conference, right, there are a few things that are there. So you cater to professionals and you cater to academics. And in the past, ASIS used to cater to both, and now it's been accused of catering more to academics than to professionals. But it's still a balance that we try to strike in various ways. And so when it comes to academic work, right, there are various categories of submissions that you can take in. You can take in full papers, which is the most prestigious thing to get into ASIS, which is where your primary research contribution comes in. Apart from full papers, you can have short papers, and you can have posters as well, which are easier to get accepted, in the sense that a full paper is about 8 to 10 pages. A short paper is about 4 pages. A poster is 2 pages of submission that goes in, apart from references. And then you can have panels and alternative events where a group of people come together to talk about a current issue. That's what Sanda was talking about. She was part of 3 panels where didn't get accepted. And this happens every year. Like sometimes we've had many serendipity panels and information encountering and various other topics. And last year, Sanda and I think, was it last year or the year before, when we were a part of another event that was held, the information science, was it a conference or?
It's a summit.
Information Science Summit.
Yeah.
That's when we were a part of a panel on what is information science. So which was kind of an interesting.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, a very nice panel to be a part of. So ASIS does not just organize the annual meeting, it also organizes a series of webinars, kind of media conferences and all as well. But the annual meeting is the biggest event where everybody gets to know a lot of people that you read about in research and all that. And now you see them as flesh and blood in 3D, like people and you can talk to them, and they're all very, very approachable and nice people. And they're especially nice to new members. So the ASIS has had this tradition of really valuing the first-time attendees, and as you go, like making them feel welcome. So yeah, typically it's a conference hotel that's there. So apart from papers, panels, and all, one of the things which have become you also have other administrative events, like a meeting of all the special interest groups. Then you have it's called the SIG cabinet, Then you have a meeting of all the chapters, which is called a chapter assembly, that takes place over there. And then you have the board meeting, and then you have the annual general meeting where members can ask questions about what is happening with ASIS in terms of finances, their plans for the future and all of that. And then there is a awards luncheon, which is kind of a very nice academy awards kind of a big event where there's dinner, or it's either a dinner or a lunch, and that's where the awards are given out each year. And so this is but the highlight of ASIST, I think, which is not mentioned much, is the other coffee breaks. So the coffee breaks are the ones where people go get some coffee, and typically what has improved over the last few years is the amount of food that is there. And if you just are present in the coffee breaks, you can be quite full overall. You don't get to go hungry. And then there are the poster sessions, which are either sponsored by like there's a president's luncheon, president's dinner along with the poster session. So not dinner, I think there's like finger food and other kinds of food and drinks that you have, and people walk around. And the posters are really nice because that's where you see the latest works in progress. It gives you a snapshot of where the field is going, because full research papers can take some time to conduct, but posters give you a general direction of the sense of the field. And one thing that I got during this conference was that at every room that I entered at any point in time, you would not come back without hearing or talking about the word AI. So I think AI was pretty much there, like somewhere, like an invisible presence, pretty much everywhere. So even when you think about your own future jobs and things, right? I think AI would be an important thing to take note of. And this is the annual meeting page for the landing page. And here you have things about the conference theme, the program committee, which includes things like the paper co-chairs, the poster co-chairs, and panel co-chairs, and so on. So people who are in charge of accepting submissions and reviewing things for various things. These are for rates for attending the conference. And typically one of the tasks which the keynote speakers get to do is to invite 2 keynote speakers, one for the opening day of the conference and one for the closing day. And then you have a workshops, which gives ASIST a chance to earn some extra revenue. And these are, so typically the conference runs from about the end of October every year, around Halloween time. And it starts on Fridays and Saturdays are the days when you have workshops, a series of workshops. It's going to be a half-day workshop or a full-day workshop. And then Hannah was able to attend a few of them this time. And then Sunday is the day one of the conference typically for ASIST. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday are the 3 major days every year at the end of October. And earlier I was talking about the venue for the event. So next year will be in Washington, D.C., and 2026 will be either in South Korea, I think in Daegu, or in Bangkok. So they were getting people one of the 2 events. And I think there was more polls for South Korea was getting more votes until I last checked. And these are where all the posters, accepted posters, are listed. And this time they broke down into 2 separate days where the posters were available. And these are for papers, panels, and then there are exhibitors. And this is more about visiting Calgary. So some conferences give you a lot of time to visit the city, like they'll have half-day free and all that. ASIS doesn't do that. ASIS is quite full in terms of the time that is there. So typically you don't have time to go around unless you decide to form like a small group. I think Sanda, Tanya, Bilal, and we did that in I think it was Denmark. So we were able to escape.
Actually, there is a story, Naresh, about that conference in Denmark. So there was a year when actually decision about selecting the conference site was made by the board of directors.
Oh, I know where this is going.
Okay, you know where this is going. Yes. So both Naresh and I were serving on the board, and there were like 3 cities. There was Berlin, there was Copenhagen in Denmark, and then there was Dubrovnik in Croatia, which is my home country. And Dubrovnik, I don't know if you have heard of it, but it's just like this amazing coastal place, just gorgeous, especially in October. Is beautiful. You can sit outside, sip coffee, look at the Adriatic coast. It just perfect, scenic, beautiful. So everybody votes. And for some reason, I don't know why and how, Naresh was late in voting. He was the only one who didn't vote yet. And the vote was split in between Copenhagen and Dubrovnik. And instead of like consulting with the colleague of his who he knew is from Croatia, he casts his votes and votes for Copenhagen. So the whole conference, then whatever next year, goes to Copenhagen. And it was cold, it was rainy, we were walking around, and at every moment I could not resist. Tell Naresh, you know, if we were in Dubrovnik right now, we would be sitting outside in the sun, looking at the seagulls and the sunset, and we would be in shorts and short sleeves. So that's a bit of a story how we had like lack of influence, but it could have been Dubrovnik without any, with one vote that did not go in the right direction.
So, you know, there are certain things that happen in your life that you have to listen to for your life. And so when Sanda will be in her late 90s,
I would still tell the story of.
And I'll be probably in my 80s, and then we'll probably meet in Dubrovnik. And then Sanda will tell me that we could have met much earlier there in Dubrovnik had I voted the other way.
Yeah.
For this conference. But yeah, so yeah, no, but I was thinking of the walk that Sanda, Danya and I did in Copenhagen, and we also encountered a serendipity wheel somewhere.
That was very nice, yeah.
I have put it on my website now. I think I have that. So I have that in that picture from Copenhagen somewhere, I think in my research page.
So those of you who may have gone to summer camps as kids, this is like a smaller version of an adult summer camp where you go to a professional conference and from year to year see friends. Some of them bring their kids with them and you meet the kids, and it's this continuity and predictability, a bit of competitiveness too, is, you know, because, you know, obviously you have to be selected to be at a conference, is and to see these young scholars grow from being very timid, maybe master students or PhD students, and then, you know, growing up to receive the highest award of the organization, which is not a small one. It's an international organization. It's quite impressive. So, and I don't know I don't think you mentioned, but this ASIS chapter that we have at Simmons has received the Best Student Chapter Award, I think 3 or 4 years in a row, just a couple of...
I think it's been more than 15 times, 10 times as far as
yeah. So
years skipped, and then it catches up very quickly. So we skipped it. We missed it this year, but with your team, I think we should get it back. Even though we're starting a little late, but I think we can catch up.
Yeah, we have to get it back from San Jose State.
Yes. So I think, and the way to do that is to organize a lot of events, do things for member engagement and do things for member recruitment, and then write a really nice annual report. So one of the things that I think I would be careful about this time is that I will work with you as the chapter advisor to review the annual report before you all submit it. So I think that's one thing. And but typically it's to do a lot of things for member engagement, and I'm glad that your team is active, and within a short span of joining, you're already holding 2 events right now, this one and the one next week on AI in LIS. So this is the schedule at a glance. So you have these are for Fridays, so you can disregard the dates. Typically every I think for some they were holding earlier workshops as well. These are virtual, and then this is at a Friday before the conference, and then on Saturday as well. And these are either full days or half-day workshops. And then if you're a member of the board of directors, then you typically have to come in on that Saturday, and then they have like a whole day board meeting. And then for doctoral students, PhD students, they have a doctoral colloquium as well. And I had a very interesting role at ASIS for a few years when I got to organize a secret students party. And it was like a tradition. It would be called secret every year, and then it would be held. And it was organized in the suite of the president of ASIST. And at that time, the president had to limit themselves to a small area and then or be out. And the student attendees would all get to hold a party, which was really nice because students felt special that this is an event when non-students are not allowed. And now, after a while, I think with Lydia as executive director, at some point she said that it's very hard every year to coordinate this in a secret manner. Let's just call it a student reception and put it in the program, rather than identifying the students and then emailing them separately and all that. So then there was also the Canada Shepherd reception this time, and this was a Sunday. So I landed in Calgary on a Saturday evening. I think Sanda also got in on Saturday. And typically the way it works is that so by the time you get there, it's like late night or evening to late night, and then in the morning. And again, you have to choose whether you are a morning person or a night person. For me, early mornings are very hard. And like I think Sanda had once suggested meeting for breakfast at 7:30. For me, like I'm not even done having dinner by that. Like it's very hard. So that's one thing. But ASIS likes morning people in the sense that a lot of things start like early morning, and so you see that 8:30 you already have an opening plenary and keynote address. And then you have the publications committee meeting and then panels. So what I did was we also had a conference app where you could select things and start things that you wanted to be a part of. So what I did was that it was too much written over here. So plus I had interviews and all to do. So I wrote it down on a separate notepad, things that separate timings for me. And one thing that happens is that if you're putting these things early in your program, you have to make sure to add the time zone. Because when you're adding the time zone, it look off right now on your Google Calendar. But when you go to the actual event, then those time zones will map to the local time. So that's always something pre-planning. You have to make sure you do that, enter the time zone. And here, this is like whatever things I was going to be a part of, I made sure that I added all the coffee breaks in my program. So those you don't miss. Also, because the most important conversations you have are the ones that you have during the coffee break. And so there's one of the attendees was Jeff Allen, and I was supposed to go and so some of our former colleagues were doing an event on virtual reality. So I wanted to be a part. I wanted to attend that for a few minutes to support them. But at the same time, Jeff and I started talking about. He just finished writing a book on wisdom, and we started talking about how to support people who have just lost loved ones. And that became like a topic of discussion, and we ended up talking for 20 minutes on that. I still had to go, but those kinds of conversations do not happen in Zoom meetings, because you go, you attend things, and then you walk away. And so those talking over tea or coffee or snacks, right? Those are I think the highlights of ASIS and why you get to know people over time. And there are lots of spaces where that can happen when you attend an in-person meeting. So yeah, and this business meeting and lunch is the one which is again a nice event, because this and lunch is important. If you don't have the and lunch part, then a lot of people may miss the business meeting. But wherever there is food, right, people make sure it's there and it's full. And if you are one of the people who are speaking at that event, you have to make sure that people get their food and they settle down, and then you can start talking somewhere like after 20 minutes or something. And then you have the meetings for various committees out here. And then there's a welcome reception, which is kind of a highlight. You typically should be there at the welcome reception, because that's when all the special interest groups will start recruiting you, especially as new members, to try to join them as a team as well. And there's a poster session here. And then there's
that went really long too.
Which one? The poster
session.
Yeah.
It was like 7:15 before anybody was actually like taking down their posters.
Yeah.
It was good though.
It's really nice. It's people walk around and meet a lot of people. That's also a networking event. And this international reception is held by the SIG International Information Issues, and they typically sponsor people from outside of the US to come at an annual meeting. And typically they hold a raffle and all that. So which is quite nice that there's an auction with exotic items out there. So I was there on this day, and then on Monday again. So this is the SIG cabinet meeting, and then there's editorial breakfast by the board that of the JSIS journal, and then there's a Canada chapter meeting, various committee meetings. So if you wanted to join any committees, this is the place to be present at all these committee meetings. And there were all these panels, and then another post. People can begin putting the posters early in the morning, like early morning that day, and then people can watch the posters all day. And then so this is not a very nice event, lunch on your own. But that's a rare time when you have to like look for food. But other times there's a lot of food options elsewhere. And then there's a president's reception, and then there is a past president's reception, which is a nice thing. So if you get to be ASIS president, then then all the past presidents are invited to an event, and people get to be a part of this. And this is the awards banquet. So I had a very early morning flight. I had a 6 a.m. flight. So right after that, I had to be up at 3 a.m. or something, and then leave for the airport and back. So this is about, and then there's a closing. On the last day, you have a lunch and closing plenary. So I have a few pictures that I can show you that I have right here. This is a poster that Hannah was talking about on the impact of blended urban sense-making methodology. And this was our poster at the conference event. Similarly, there are like maybe I think close to 100 or more than that in terms of posters. And there's a very nice slide here in terms of statistics. This was shown at the annual business meeting. And ASIS currently has more than 2,000 members, and members from 78 countries. So there were like 75 in 2023. And there were 475 people registered for the annual meeting. And a lot of people are, at least 30% of the membership is engaged as volunteers in some capacity or the other. And what else? And this was when you have a poster, right, you submit like a 2-page document like this, and then you also design a poster to be presented at the annual meeting. So that was a poster that we designed, and we printed it. Either you can carry it, or you can have it shipped, have it ordered at FedEx, the local FedEx, and then pick it up from there. And this was another panel that I was a part of, and this panel was on who are the redefining demarcation of research participants. So looking at what the demographics in surveys and all mean. So we had a few of them, and these were my slides were on what the elements of context, what is who is the actor, what does identity mean, what does ethnicity mean, what does race mean, and so on. So I talked about a model on information seeking behavior from one of my papers, and from my book, I presented a few models there, and talked about what does ethnicity, genetics, geography, nationality, and language, what this means. And I had a book chapter recently from my home state of Sikkim in India, talking about belonging and unbelonging, what does that mean? And talking about the issues of us versus them, which is happening a lot in the US as well. So, and these were the slides of other people in the panel. And let me see what else can I show you in terms of highlights. This was Sanda's and mine picture with the award. And then let's see. This was we have a new journal called so ARIST is a very well-known journal. It is basically it has been a tradition of ASIS to invite researchers specializing in different areas to write a very authoritative, rigorous book chapter on specific topics. So this was discontinued many years ago because it was loss-making, and a few years ago, ASIS board decided to revive it again. And now we have a first issue that's out, and then issue number 2 will be out in January 2025, and there are 9 reviews already published in early view. So this is very nice that it's out and back again. So this is about JSIST and ARIST, and let's see what else. This is a picture with some former presidents and board members of ASIST. Crystal was the current president right now, and there's Lynn Conaway and Ina Fury, the Dania Bilal. And so these are the friendships that you form over the years. Like you get to know them, know people, and then each year as you go back, you meet them again. And this was Hannah and I. This was Hannah, and this picture was taken by Sanda at our poster session. And this was from the past president's reception. This poster, this has a picture of all the former presidents, and you see the medals that some of them have. These are people who were recognized as ASIST fellows who have made a lot of huge contribution to research in our field. And some of these people I've interviewed in the past, there's Marjorie Lava. I've interviewed her for Project Oneness World, and also I think there's Michael Buckland there. And this is an interesting group because it has the outgoing ASIS president here, this Crystal, and then there is incoming ASIS president, and then a person who has just been elected as president-elect of ASIS. So there's a big stream of continuity over there in this room.
Mm-hmm.
And these were, I think, let's see. These were, I think, people who, we were posing with our awards here and with some of the people who got other awards in different categories. And then there was an interesting thing that happened was that I had given a talk for Pakistan a few years ago in 2021 during COVID time, and they made this trophy for me, but they could not send it, so they kept it for themselves. And there was a person who was traveling a year later, so they sent the trophy with her, and she was in Connecticut, and then she had it for a while, and she carried it around to various conferences, could not meet me. Then she carried it again to ASIS this year, and I told her that I could take the trophy from her, but she said, "You're not staying in a conference hotel, so I will keep it in somebody's room and I'll bring it at night for you."
Oh my gosh.
So she brought it again at night, and when I was in the past president's reception, and then I was able to come back with 2 trophies. But it was very nice of her. You see that these acts of kindness a lot, people doing so much. And so this was from there. So I think ASIS is just I would like to think of it as a professional family, and it's that sort of an organization, I think, which keeps on giving. The more you become a part of it, I think it doesn't disappoint you at all. And I call it an organization of people who are both good and smart, and which is kind of very hard to find. And I'm glad that you all are a member of the student chapter, and the Simmons student chapter is a sort of highlight of ASIS because ASIS has been very proud of it, and the Northeast chapter also banks a lot upon the Simmons student chapter to bring more energy to what they do. Because I think we can stop here and maybe take questions for the next 30 minutes or so.
Sure. So I guess I have a question. So what is ASIS currently doing to resolve or at least address the digital dark age question? Because I've done some research, and there's been a lot of sites and data that's been lost and that will continue to be lost for a time, such as the MTV. Their last 20 years of data has been lost, and every single record on MySpace before 2016 was lost as well. And there's millions of other far more minor sites have been lost as well. So what are information science professionals doing to address that issue?
So I was thinking about that, Tristan. So Tristan's question is basically a lot of we talk about digital preservation, right? But there is digital loss as well, and digital data that is not preserved over time. And we have some websites like I think archive.org, which kind of where you can store some old sites and all. But for data that gets lost, I think that would be the prerogative of one of the special interest groups. So when we go to when you see these chapters here, right, and you have the SIGs. So I would think that, and there is a SIG on the history and foundations of information science. So I think either one of these, the history SIG, or let's see if there's some other SIG which could maybe knowledge management SIG, and so
maybe social media.
maybe social media. So yeah, so one of the SIGs would be a good opportunity, I think, to become a member of one of the SIGs. Typically, as an ASIS member, you can join one or more SIGs, and then have that SIG work on that issue, I think, as a group, and to organize events to sensitize people about them, which can be webinars, panels, posters, and so on. And you could also form uh, other informal conversations. ASIS has a platform called iConnect, where people can talk to each other with people of similar, and that provides a very nice space for this to happen as well.
Yeah, thank you for the information.
Interesting.
I also had a question about the workshops. Are there any workshops that you think we could replicate for the student chapter?
So typically you need to have experts in an area to have a workshop. Like you could have a workshop on theory building, or a workshop, and like we have a lot of in-house experts over here. Sanda is a world figure in information encountering, right? So we could have a workshop in information encountering, for instance, over here at Simmons. We have a lot of people. We are doing one on an AI event, but I think one of the artificial intelligence is a big area for us to keep doing multiple things on over time, I think. And so you could also poll members and students as to what areas would they like workshops in and all that. And one more thing is that the student chapter doesn't have to do events on its own. You could actually collaborate with other special interest groups or with other chapters and invite them to do talks and get experts from there. So you don't have to have expertise on your own as well. We could always get other people to co-sponsor and do events together with. So in fact, the more collaborative events you do, the better you look, even in an annual report, because you're working together with people.
Great, thank you.
Hannah, Sanda, let me ask you one question. Okay, actually, I have something to say about Sanda, and then I'll ask that question. So,
Okay.
one is that people who a lot of the times you say that you go to ASIS because you want to rise in the profession, or you want to do well, or you want to shine in some way, right? But at the same time, you grow at a certain point where you start thinking about helping other people shine than about shining yourself. And that is, I think that's what I've learned from Sanda, in the sense that Sanda is very actively supportive of people like me and a lot of other faculty and students, in terms of helping them shine and grow. And you see this mentoring aspect of ASIS is a very strong one, and I think we need more of that, in terms of having mechanisms to help other people grow as well. Even as students, right? As students, one of the things we want to do is to try to get good grades and to do well. But what can we do to support other students to do well as well? Students who might be struggling in some way, right? And to encourage students who might be shining. And so I think, when we look for jobs, right, what can we do to help other people who might be looking for jobs as well? So things like, I think that aspect of helping people apart from helping ourselves, I think that is something which is unique in some of the seasoned members of ASIS, like Sanda and some other people as well, who are always there to help you succeed as well. And sometimes you think that you are the one who is succeeding, but you have a lot of other people who are pushing you to succeed. And the question that I had for Sanda was that, what do you think ASIS has given you?
I would definitely say community. It's, being a professional in the field, you typically develop community around your workplace. But that's great, but it's also in some way limiting. And these are connections that literally go across time, and also connect you with people who come from really different backgrounds. So these bonds are extremely close. One of my very close, I would say, closest friends was on one of the pictures that Naresh shared. Danya Bilal, she is from University of Tennessee, originally from Lebanon, and both of our countries during the past 30 years went through turmoil, civil wars, and I also have a close friend now in Israel. So, we work on research proposals together. We apply for various grants together. We apply for panels, but then also when things that affect us personally happen, parents dying, some kind of turmoil in the part of the world that we care about, we reach out to each other. So it's this kind of invisible network that connects you to other people outside of your closest friends in a location where you are. And because these connections last for years and years, they sometimes are even stronger than, some of those more temporary connections that you have only because you work with somebody, and then when you change the jobs, you don't have those connections anymore. So yeah, to answer again quickly, shortly to your question, it's the community and opportunity to connect with other professionals.
Yes, thank you, Sanda. And I think I have gotten the sense of community as well, right? And when I was doing my PhD, I had a mentor there who would tell me that you need to find a professional home. And I never understood that. I was like, and I went to various conferences where there used to be 1,000 people, and I'd get lost, like trying to find my way in that huge room and all that. But professional home really means a place where you go and you feel that you belong. You have a place for your kind of work, your kind of research, your kind of social justice values, or diversity, equity, inclusion, any kind of values that you are strong to. You find a group of people who also feel strongly about those issues. And these are not just people who are good people, but these are people who are very smart, and they are one of the smartest, best thinkers in the world who are there in that room and who are lunch or dinner or coffee with you.
You give and you take back. It's really an exchange. It's not just you go so that you are connected. You go, you grow with the organization, you write, you develop ideas, you know people, and you give your intellectual contribution, and also you get back. So it's a very strong environment. And Naresh, on this positive note, I actually have to leave because, believe or not, I have another appointment at 8 o'clock, so I need to change the Zoom rooms.
I just want to tell one thing, that in 2008, when I was a fresh PhD student, Sanda and I, we were part of a discussion on information behavior in a field course. And that was a very interesting way to meet. And it's been like very positive, like a lot of very rich conversations and interactions since then. But thank you, Sanda. I'll let you go now.
Okay, no problem. Thank you, guys. And let's stay in touch. This group should grow. And next week is AI, and we can do all sorts of other things. I'm also very much interested, as much time I have, in bringing some of these some of the virtual reality tools. We already purchased a couple of sets. So if any of you wants to try some really cool stuff, let me know. We'll set things up, and we can even meet one of the times virtually through the VR sets rather than on Zoom. So yeah, let's keep exploring if you have interest. Okay.
Thank you, Sanda.
Bye-bye. Bye, Naresh. Bye, everybody.
Bye, Sanda. So do you have other questions for us? I know some of you, like Andrew, Elaine, Laura.
Not at the moment. No, thank you.
And I'd also want to know what was interesting to you today, like in terms of what you might have gotten.
Oh, well, for me personally, the sense of community and professional home really, really rang true and meant something to me. And I think, you saying it's not necessarily just networking, right? It's creating professional friendships and collaborating. And so to me, that was a great takeaway.
Right. And if you look at my co-authors, right, and I think I just want to show you a little bit in the minute or two that we have. I have built this website called projectonenessworld.com, and Tristan is helping me with this site right now in terms of editing interviews. So we've had a lot of people here. Now, Suleiman Hom, there was one of the persons that I interviewed for this website, and then I met him during the ASIS annual meeting this time. And then Marjorie Lawa was one of the people on the former president's reception, and I got to interview her as well over here. And one of the interviews which I'd like to show is one of Brenda Derwin, and this was the poster that Hannah had over here, and this is a trailer from there.
I was an orphan, and then I was adopted by a then very wealthy family. His wife was the Wicked Witch of the East. She didn't love me. He couldn't love me because of her. And so I went through a door I could go through, which was my brain. So I came out of Michigan State, a statistical whiz, and the first female PhD, and the first female president of ICA, and the first female fellow of ICA. When we get to academia, you ask me for one word, I'll say misogyny. From beginning to end, you need to stay connected with your field and its demands, right, while doing what you think is right.
Your being not accepted for who you are made you more accepting of all kinds of people.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
Because that's how I learned.
Right. And Brenda Derwin unfortunately passed away at the end of 2022, on December 31st that year. But if you search for Brenda Derwin, right, and this is she has a Wikipedia page, and then she was a professor of communication and the person who came up with a sense-making theory and methodology. And when we go to, it says scholar.google.com, right? And if we search for, let's say, Brenda Derwin here, her work has been cited more than 19,000 times, right? And then there was another person, Michael Buckland, who I've also interviewed. And Michael Buckland's work has been cited like more than 12,000 times. So these are a lot of influential people in the field, and you get to see them walking around during ASIS conferences. And you would read their papers, you'd see their work cited in many of the classes that you take and so on. And they have helped, like they've written very basic things like what's a document, when you try to define what's document for you, and what is information and things like that. So it's a very rich community of people who are both very good and very smart and very approachable. And so I think trying to be a member and making connections with some of these people, I think it's a very valuable, rich, rewarding thing, I think. And over the years, I've brought in a few people to ASIST, and I've seen them grow as well over the years. And any person who comes to ASIST and becomes a part of it, starts contributing to ASIST, I think the more you contribute, the more you get out. You really start shining, I think, is what I've seen. It's a place which helps you shine a lot. Okay, so I'm glad that that your leadership at the Simmons chapter is, again, you're doing this at the local level, but in order to go global, you have to go local, and that's what's strong and about it. So my recommendation is that try to get as much as you can out of these connections, and it makes overall life very enriching. I think it's more about what you get out of it as a whole. I think that's a side effect of it, but you have a very fulfilling life in the process as well, and you contribute a lot too. Okay. Any other questions? Are people all hungry? So I think it looks like it's a good time to stop right now. Andrew, you have any questions or comments?
No, just happy to be here.
Okay.
I'm actually, I kind of have a cold, so I just didn't, I've been coughing a little bit, so I've just been on mute in the background. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. Hope you feel better soon.
Thank you.
Just quickly, I'm going to post the link to join our email list if anyone would like to do that if they haven't already, just so that they can receive updates on our events and collaborations as well. I hope that this link works.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
So you all can click on that link and then we could stop here.
And it is also a QR code on our poster, thanks to Laura.
Okay. And also next week on Tuesday, there is an event happening on which will be on AI in LIS, and it will also be an event co-sponsored by the ASIS student chapter as well as the Information Science and Technology Lab at SLIS, and it will be from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. next week on Tuesday, November 12th. It'll be online as well. Okay. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good rest of the evening.
Bye.